Senate Majority Leader John Thune. Senator, your feeling about where we are economically right now?
Brian, I think we're poised for some really exciting things in terms of the economy. As you've seen, the president with his policies and working with the Congress has provided some powerful incentives for people to do business in this country, and a lot of our businesses that have a footprint, multinational businesses are reinvesting in the United States, bringing supply chains back home. I think that the tax policies we enacted with the One Big Beautiful Bill will further that, along with regulatory policy, energy policy. I think the president and his team are doing all the right things to ensure that America continues to be the place where people want to invest and do business. And I think that has huge upside for the country economically.
So just a Fox News poll, and I think you see the polls. If anything, they are a little tough on Republicans. I don't know the science behind it, but traditionally. So Fox News poll said only 32% of the country look at the economy as excellent or good. 67% say fair. Now that is up 2 points from up 1 point from June, up 2 points from April. March, that number was just 21% thought he was excellent. So it's trending in the right direction. But why do you think there's a lag to 50%?
I think part of it is, as you know, we've been working since the president took office on the One Big Beautiful Bill, and it's been coming together. We haven't had a product to get out there and sell. We now do. And I think the Democrats have had the luxury of been, shooting from cover and being on the attack these last 6 months. And so we've got to change the narrative. And that means our senators, House members, the president and his team, we've got to be out there explaining to the American people what's in the Big Beautiful Bill, why it's going to impact them in a very positive way. And I think when they hear, they'll know that. I mean, this was really geared and oriented toward working families, from the tax policy to the child care policy, school choice, these accounts for newborns. I mean, there's so many things in here that are designed to give the American people and working families in this country more incentives to do more for their families and to send less to Washington. So I think it's really a function of us now having and being unified and being out there delivering the message about this. And then I think the American people are going to start feeling it. And ultimately, Brian, that's where those poll numbers change, and that's when the American people start feeling the effects of this. And there always is a bit of a lag effect, but it will happen, and it'll start happening, I think, sooner rather than later.
Did you find, can you bring me back to 2017 when you guys passed the tax reform? Could you tell me how it was perceived and when it changed? Because it was good enough that, President Biden wasn't looking to change any of it. He didn't even remove many tariffs that Trump put in place. So can you go to a similar timeline now?
Well, look, I think in 2017, and it was late in the year, and we were going into the 2018 midterm elections, and frankly, I don't think we did as good a job as we should have getting out and talking about it. I think we just assumed that people would realize the benefits from it, but sometimes
and you lost the House.
Got to get out. We lost, yeah, that's right, and I think the Democrats effectively at the time, and this is what they're trying to do again, is make it about this is going to be tax cuts or bailouts for billionaires. Nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, of the benefit derived from the One Big Beautiful Bill is going to be felt by people who make less than $400,000 a year, and the people who actually $1,000 a year get the biggest proportionate benefit from the tax cuts that are included there. So if you look at all these things, whether it's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, reduced taxes for seniors in this country, for inflation. There's so many things in here, I think, in the end, that people are going to start feeling. And when they start feeling it, you're going to see those numbers reflect that. But part of it, too, is us getting out and telling the story. And
I think that's part of the reason why you want to get back to town. While there might be some pressure from the White House for you guys to stay in and force the Democrats to vote on some of your nominees?
That's right. And, Brian, the Democrats, this is unprecedented what they're doing. This is the first president in history who has never had, at this point in his presidency, a civilian nominee approved either by unanimous consent or voice vote in the Senate, which is a way of expediting nominees that are broadly supported. And so they are delaying, obstructing, blocking at every point in the process. And so I totally appreciate the president's frustration with what's happening on the nominee front. But the other side of that story, as you point out, is we do need senators and House members back in their districts and states talking about getting out to the events where the American people are, and explaining what's in that one big beautiful bill.
But didn't Senator Schumer keep you guys late when he was not happy with the pace of the confirmations? Right now, unless you have better stats, which you might, there's 259 positions that are being considered by the Senate, waiting for a vote. 97 have been confirmed by the Senate. That is way below Barack Obama's level.
Well, we're actually way above Trump 1. I mean, we're about double the rate of 2017 and ahead of Biden. But the one thing that did happen in 2017, Brian, going into the August recess, is the Democrats agreed to process a bunch of nominees in agreement with the Republicans. So far, they haven't indicated any desire to do that. But we are still going to grind it out on these noms in the coming weeks. And, we're, like I said, we are about double the rate of where the Trump administration was in 2017. And we're getting no cooperation from the Democrats. But as we head into next week and then beyond that, the month of August, we will do what's necessary to ensure that we get the people across the finish line that the president wants to get into those positions. But, we got the cabinet through at the fastest pace in 20 years. We've kept the Senate in session, 10 consecutive weeks for the first time in 15 years. And we put up more votes at this time in a legislative session than any Congress going back at least to 1989. I mean, and a lot more votes. We're keeping people here. We're working them. We're just not getting any cooperation. And that's I think, what's unusual and unprecedented. And that's why we're going to have to just grind it out and wear them down.
And basically, even though you're in the majority, you need the Democrats to show up, even if they're not going to vote for your guys?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, the Democrats they could leave town. We have to produce a quorum. And if we get under 50, if we don't have, more than 50 Republicans here to produce a quorum, we can't do business. So it requires every Republican to stay here. And one of the challenges we've had, particularly on Fridays and weekends, is keeping attendance here so that we can win votes, or at least have a quorum to do business. So there's nothing about this that is easy, but it should be a lot easier than it is. And right now, because of the way the Democrats are playing and their Trump derangement syndrome, they're putting up an unprecedented level of obstruction, and I think the only way to beat that is to just grind them down. And we've done that a lot already. Like I said, we're about double the rate of where Trump, the first Trump administration, was at this point in his presidency. But as we head into the August break, we need to get a whole bunch more confirmed, and we intend to do that.
All right, so let's talk about how you're going to try to increase the majority, or at least hold on to it. In Georgia, they say Senator Ossoff is the most vulnerable. But right now, who are you looking at as the best shot at winning the primary and or walking through the primary for that Republican side of the Senate?
We've got there are a lot of interest in the state of Georgia in running, and I know that there are at least a couple members in the House delegation. I think there's a statewide constitutional office holder down there that I think is interested in running, and of course we're hearing too Derek Dooley, who's the son of Vince Dooley, is a famous Georgia coach, and Derek Dooley is a coach in his own right, coach with Nick Saban at Alabama and LSU and some other places, is also expressing interest. So there's a lot of interest in Georgia. Obviously, there's probably going to be a primary there, but I'm hoping that we're going to have a candidate that can emerge not only just from a primary, but also that will be a good general election candidate, because I think Georgia is a great opportunity for us. It's a state that ought to have ought to have two Republican senators, but at least we ought to be able to elect one in 2026.
So Doug Collins would have been perfect, but he's got another job right now. New Hampshire, in Maine, do you know if Susan Collins is going to run again?
Well, I don't know that she's officially announced, but we are certainly operating on the assumption that she is. She's doing everything that you would expect a candidate who's running for re-election to do. She's raising money. She's aggressively campaigning or getting, back in her state. And honestly, Brian, she's the only Republican that can win. In fact, we don't have a single elected Republican in the Senate from New England right now, with the exception of Susan Collins. And that state is a very blue state. So she's got a proven record. She's a political survivor. And so I expect that she's going to run. And if she does, we expect her to win.
Every time it's going to be tight. And now in Michigan, Mike Rogers barely lost last time. Is there anybody? Is he your pick this time?
Well, I've endorsed him, and the National Republican Senatorial Committee's endorsed him as well. I think at some point the president's going to weigh in Michigan, but my assumption is at least that based on how close he was last time, it was literally a few thousand votes, and he actually was winning until they started counting in Detroit. No big surprise there. But we think that Mike's got the organization in place, donors. Statewide name ID, came out of it with a pretty good image. Sometimes when you come out of an election, you've been beat up a lot, and he actually came out with, and if you look at the polling right now against any of these potential Democrats, he's polling really well. So we think Michigan, we put up a good record of accomplishment and things that he can talk about and raise the resources. That'll be a very competitive race in state for us. And we're hopeful we can pick up a seat there.
All right, let's talk about North Carolina. It looks like Laura Trump. Is that what you're hearing? Will not run for the Senate in North Carolina?
Well, I think she's making that. Definitive out there in terms of a statement about it. But yeah, I had a conversation along with the president with her. About the possibility of her running, and I think everybody was prepared. I think she would have cleared the field and obviously done very, very well there. But I think she's opted, at least, that this isn't the time. I think it's something she may entertain at a different point in life. But I think for now, at least, she's taking a pass, and I expect we're going to hear an announcement soon on North Carolina.
Mike Whatley? Would you like to see him in there?
I won't speak for him, but obviously there's been plenty of interest in North Carolina too. No lack of candidates, but I think if Mike Whatley gets into the race, I expect that he'll have a lot of support from the president and obviously from Senate Republicans. We think he'd be a great candidate and hold that seat.
I mean, he certainly understands the business, and his track record in the last election was phenomenal. That's why the president asked him to keep the job as RNC chair. Now, in the Senate, you have a difficult situation. I know John Cornyn was going for the majority leader with you. He didn't get it, but he's a class act, and he's being challenged now by your AG, Ken Paxton. Where do you stand personally about who you're looking for that spot, and what do you think the president will endorse in Texas?
Well, I think at least for now, it appears at least, and I can't speak for him. That's obviously you can get the president to speak for himself on Texas. But I think at least for now, folks are going to let it play out a little bit. And obviously, I've endorsed John Cornyn. The National Republican Senatorial Committee's endorsed John Cornyn, and we think he would be a great general election candidate. Clearly there are people who want to run who might fare well in a primary election, but Texas is a big state, very diverse state, and a state which the Democrats would love to target. And I think that's very hard for them to do if John Cornyn is our general election candidate. So as we look at Texas, obviously we're looking not only at the primary, but also how do we hang on to that seat and make sure that it's not a race that the Democrats can target and have success with. So it's again, there are a lot of people in the state of Texas who have perhaps other candidates that they're getting behind, but as we look and think about Texas, we're thinking general election and hanging on to that seat.
And what about in New Hampshire? Scott Brown's been on here a couple of times. He's put his hat in the ring. Is he the best candidate to get to flip that seat?
Well, Scott and I are friends. We go back a long ways, and I'm a big fan of his. I think he is out there already, but we'll see. I mean, there may be some other developments in the New Hampshire race. So at least for now, we still see that as a potential pickup opportunity in a state where, in a good year, right year, and if we have a candidate that can win not only the base Republicans up there, but appeal to some of the independents that are very active in New Hampshire elections, we could have that also could be a seat we could win. So we're taking that one very seriously, you bet.
Senator John Thune, I saw your Instagram when you're there in a wetsuit doing a backflip after passing the big, beautiful bill. So I know you're happy, even though you're low key. So thanks so much, Senator, for joining us and giving our audience the up to the minute moves for the Republican Party. Appreciate it.